All right, now that you're all carved up, hang on. I'm gonna take one more bite, and then I'm going to launch into my YouTube rant. But while you're out there, if you like, I was pulling this up for somebody else. For all y'all, working on my Nashville, that were here for the first session, if you recall, I was discussing how overseas the money is split between mechanical royalties and public performance on downloads. I thought you'd be interested to see how that money gets split. So I'm going to, where did I put my pizza? There it is. I'm going to take one more bite of pizza, but feel free to peruse through that. And by the way, these splits, they're arbitrary. That's why they differ. Depends who sits on the board of directors of the collection agencies, and they then arbitrarily decide how to split the money. So let's say a euro comes in, well, maybe it won't be Greece much longer, but you can see how they split it, right? And over here it's different. So that means if you're a member of BMI, CSAC, or ASCAP, and you have a download occur in a European territory, you're going to collect your public performance revenue, but your mechanical royalty revenue is sitting overseas, and they've taken their admin fee, and they won't give it to you unless you become a member, which is then charging you a fee to collect the money they had no legal right to collect and split in the first place. I call that extortion and theft, but you know, don't forget I worked for SOCAN for a couple of years, so I love performing rights organizations, but this sort of stuff just drives me crazy. So just give me 1 second, one last bite, a gulp of water, and here I'll scroll down here, and you can see some of the splits on streams. Here, I'll even make it smaller so more will fit. Give me 1 sec. This isn't awkward. Okay. By the way, that pizza's pretty good. Yeah? You're welcome. Thank you. I'm pleasantly surprised. All right. Oh, I blew the slide. That was my Let's Eat slide. All right. So is there anyone here for the YouTube session that was not here for the first session? I just want to, I'm going to have to bore. Okay, for those of you that were here before, bear with me while you go through deja vu, just to give the second round of attendees a flavor of some of the things you already know. So thank you very much for coming. Tom Truitt, are you still here? He's over there. Okay, he walked out. Okay, so thank you for Tom, who's not here, who won't hear the thank you a second time. He had a conference last night called Who Knew, where I got to speak for 10 minutes along with REM's lawyer and a bunch of other people. It was a great conference. It was supposed to teach you things you didn't know. This was the first one, and he's going to continue to do it. I encourage you to attend, and he also helped me put this together, and everybody else that helped me put this together. There's just a lot of people. So thank you, and thank you for coming. My name is Jeff Price, and for those of you that already know this, I apologize. And post-production, we can choose to edit this out if we like, so I'll do a dramatic pause. Okay. So YouTube is a very interesting, bizarro world of new money that I love. I don't know how else to say it. I drank the Kool-Aid. They got me over to the other side. There's certainly issues along the way, but at this point, I've adopted it. I love it. I think it's a great tool, and I'm going to explain, and to the best of my ability, all of the nuances that exist in regards to YouTube, hopefully so it will all make perfect sense and how to use their system. There is a second microphone over here. If you have questions, I'd like to encourage you to ask them as I'm speaking. It'd be great if we get them on the mic because we're recording this, which means you will probably end up hearing your voice, if that's okay. But I want to get into this. So first thing you should know is YouTube does over 1 trillion annual views. That's a lot of views. They've got 30 billion views a month of videos with music in them. They've got 100 hours of what they call user-generated content. That's basically cat videos, uploaded every 60 seconds. Right? In 2013, they did around $4 billion in ad revenue. Some of the projections have them doing up to $20 billion in ad revenue by 2020. In 2013, about half of the user-generated videos with music were monetized. So again, that's your cats that happen to have a song in it, right? Those videos are generating over $1 billion annually, and that's growing. And I found this just a fascinating statistic because I'm so US-centric in the way I think a lot of the times. Over 70% of YouTube traffic comes from outside of the United States. You know, I don't even think about that. And that's incredibly important because it impacts how money gets paid and where the growth is and what you can and can't do. So that's some quick stats on YouTube. I assume all of you have actually visited YouTube at some point in your life to watch the cat videos. Yeah, okay. Okay. So, how do you make money on YouTube? Practice, practice, practice. Now, there's two ways to make money on YouTube. Your own videos or other people's videos. That's it. Now, let's get into your own video. I sit here and I take my 3 fingers and I wiggle them and I record it with my iPhone, which, oh, there it is, with my iPhone. The minute I've done that, that video is copyright protected. It's mine. If Steven Spielberg or somebody else wants to take my 3 fingers wiggling and put it in their new movie, they can't without a license from me because it's my movie. So I can go to YouTube and I can create an account. And an account at YouTube is called a channel. And by creating a channel and an account, I've agreed to YouTube's terms and conditions. And I go and I upload my video of my 3 fingers wiggling into my YouTube account, my channel, and I'm telling YouTube I control all the copyrights in that video, which I do because it's just me and my 3 fingers wiggling. And because I control those, YouTube will let me put an ad on that video, and they then can slap an ad on it. Now, why would somebody be watching my 3 fingers wiggling is beyond me, but I've learned not to ever wonder why people watch some of the things they watch. So, an ad goes up on it. I haven't made money yet. The way you make money off of that ad is one of 2 things happen. Now, there's 2 types of ads. There's a video ad, I'm going to call those commercials, and then there's a text or banner ad. If the person that comes to watch my 3 fingers wiggling watches that commercial, okay, and they watch at least 30 seconds of that commercial, I will get paid. If the person clicks on the banner or text ad, I will get paid. If they do not watch the 30 seconds, if they do not click on the banner or text ad, I do not get paid. Now, some of you might say, wait a second, what about those videos where I can see there's an ad, but it lets me skip it after the first 5 seconds, right? If you skip it, it's less than 30 seconds, nobody gets paid. You'll say, well, wait, aren't some commercials less than 30 seconds? Yes. In those cases, the whole commercial has to be watched. Then you'll get paid. If you don't watch 30 seconds, if you skip it, if you don't watch the whole thing, if it's less than 30 seconds, no money gets generated. If the banner ad or text ad gets clicked on, you'll get paid. If it does not get clicked on, you will not get paid. So that's a very first important starting point. As you can imagine, think about your own behavior on YouTube. How often do you click on the banners? How often do you watch the commercials? And by the way, there's different types of commercials. Some of them you can't skip and you're forced to watch them. Some of them you can skip. By the way, the ones that you can skip, those are called true view ads. They actually will generate most times more money than the ones you cannot. And the reason is the advertiser believes if you're not skipping, they've reached a qualified consumer customer, so they're willing to pay more for that because you're sticking around to watch the commercial. It's kind of the opposite of the way I thought it would work as well. So when that ad is clicked or when the commercial is watched, Pepsi, I'll make it up, pays YouTube. YouTube will pay you about half the money. They'll take the other half. That's how you make money on your own videos. So Charlie Bit Me. Everyone see Charlie Bit Me? Charlie bit my finger. Right? Had that happened after this system existed, they would have made money on all those views that were monetizable. I think, by the way, the last time I ran an analysis on it, from what I found on the videos that I've analyzed, it's about 17 to 20% monetize. The others do not. And by the way, it was only recently, I think in the last year and a half, that videos began to run on phones with ads. If you think about that. And now everyone's moving to mobile. The phablets, the phone tablet, right? So those are now monetizing. I didn't come up with that. Oh, that's a great term. So that's how you make money on your own videos. So now let's go to the other fun part of YouTube. By the way, anyone can make money on their own videos on YouTube. And there's different sort of levels. You can do it as just the person off the street. You can then apply to become a partner of YouTube, which then gets you some more whistles and bells and statistics. You can become part of something called a multi-channel network, which is where a person comes in and says, oh, I'm going to take all of you that have your own YouTube channels, and YouTube's paying all of you individually. I'm going to tell YouTube to pay me your money. I'll take a piece and give it back to you, but I'll do something to earn the right to do that. Those are called multi-channel networks, so all of you could be under my umbrella on YouTube. That's how you make money on your own videos. So let's take the three fingers wiggling, and now let's put a song in the background. Dolly Parton singing I Will Always Love You. Sorry, Whitney Houston singing I Will Always Love You. All right, so what I've just done is I've taken a video before that had 1 copyright, and now it has 3. It has 3 because it has 1 for the video, it has 1 for the sound recording of I Will Always Love You. So Whitney Houston records it. Sony Records hired Whitney Houston to sing it. Sony Records owns the recording of the song. The 3rd copyright in there is the composition, the lyric and melody, which Dolly Parton wrote, which was written for, that's right, Porter Wagner. So there are 3 copyrights in there. 1 for the video, 1 for the sound recording, 1 for the composition. Now, YouTube has a problem. If YouTube places an ad on that video, they are making money off of these 2 copyrights, the sound recording and the composition, without a license. If they do that, it is now copyright infringement. You cannot do that. And they can be sued for damages around that. That's why they don't do that. So you might say, well, what about if the video doesn't have an ad on it? Isn't that also copyright infringement? Yes, it is actually. So I upload my 3 fingers with the song in it. I literally am infringing on copyright. But the way the law works in the United States, through the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, there's something called the Safe Harbor Provision. And the Safe Harbor Provision is like a boat out on a choppy sea, and there's a harbor it can go into to protect itself from the waves. Safe harbor means that as long as YouTube closes its eyes and does not look at what's being uploaded to it, it cannot be sued for compensatory, statutory, monetary damages for copyright infringement. And the government passed this. The logic behind it was we don't want to stifle innovation. We want to let new technology grow. We need to protect them from being sued out of existence. And as you can imagine, there are people that argue on both sides of the fence on that issue. So that's different, though, than placing an ad on the video and making money, because now they're directly making money off these copyrights, where over here you could still argue, well, they're not directly making money, but it increases the eyeballs, which increases the overall value of YouTube, and it's part of a publicly traded company, so there is value there. Right, but anyway, that's what safe harbor provision is. Can't sue them for monetary damages. So that is why YouTube began having videos in it with 3 fingers wiggling with I Will Always Love You. And they had billions of videos like that, and why they weren't sued out of existence. It got all the way up to the Supreme Court, by the way. Vivendi Universal pursued and pursued it and pursued it, and so far it's been upheld that they're protected under the sort of provisions of the safe harbor. Anyway, so now they have a problem. They can't put an ad on this video, but that's how they make their money, through advertising. That's how Google makes all of its money, through advertising. They had to come up with a solution for this. So what did they do? They said, well, let's go out and create a very complicated technology system, because we're a technology company, and create a way to get the licenses to the sound recording and composition, because we already have a license to the video. Right? The person uploaded it, gave us a license grant. So they created very long contracts, some of which are now findable online. They're confidential agreements, but some news organizations have leaked them and gotten copies. And they get, let's say, Sony to sign it, and they get Dolly Parton's publishing company called Velvet Apple to sign it. Once those contracts are signed, there's certain rights and so forth, but what happens next is Sony then sends over to YouTube a list of every single sound recording that it controls rights to. It gives it the name and these identifiers called ISRCs and all this other information. They load it into the YouTube database. And then Dolly Parton does the same thing, only it's for her compositions, her lyric and melodies, the names, what percentage she controls, something called ISWCs if she has them, HFA numbers, anyway, a whole bunch of data, loads it into the system. Then YouTube says, great, now that we have your data in the database, let's go out, you guys can go find videos and tell us to place ads on them and make money. Well, the problem is Sony says, but there's like 20 billion videos. How are we supposed to find the videos with I Will Always Love You as recorded by Whitney Houston in them? I'm not going to go listen to them. So YouTube says, good point. Tell you what, send us over a copy of the recording of the song. And we've just created a piece of technology called Content ID. And because you've signed the contract, we're going to let you use our technology. And what our technology is going to do is make a fingerprint of your sound recording, and then it's going to beam this fingerprint against every video that's ever been uploaded to YouTube in the past, in the present, and in the future. And every time we find this forensic match, we will automatically do what you have set your computer preferences to. That's what Content ID is, if you've heard that term before. And Sony goes, great, and what are my preferences? Well, you can do one of three things. Take down the video, do nothing, or tell us to put an ad on it and make some money. Oh, great. Here's a sound recording, and off the system goes, finds all the videos and automatically does what the computer preferences were set to. That's how it works for the sound recording. Now for the lyric and melody, the composition, it works a little bit differently. The composition doesn't exist except as an idea until it gets written down on sheet music or gets recorded. And YouTube doesn't sell sheet music. So they need to find the recordings. And what they'll do for Dolly Parton is they'll take it, I Will Always Love You, the composition, and they will metaphorically staple it to the sound recording. And then every time they find a match for the sound recording, by default, they also found a match for the composition. And Dolly Parton, too, can do one of three things: take down, do nothing, or make money. If both Sony and Dolly Parton say, go ahead and put an ad on it, YouTube will then put an ad on it. If one of them do not, it will not. So both of them have to say yes or no ad goes on it. And once that happens, the ads go on those videos. When they monetize, the money gets split between sound recording, composition, and YouTube. The video maker doesn't get paid anything. Just FYI. Some people say that's not fair. Shouldn't the video maker get paid something? They contributed towards the overall copyright, this sort of mashup of culture, right? It's composition, sound recording, and my cats dancing on a trampoline. And the answer, in my opinion, yeah, they probably should. But that's just not the way it works now. On the flip side, the person that created the video doesn't pay any money to have access to a system where they can upload an unlimited number of videos with unlimited storage and gain statistics and information and share it with their friends. So, we sometimes forget about that. It's a pretty good system to have for free. Now, I understand you're giving away privacy, and I understand Google has its issues and with people and so forth, but it's still a pretty good system to get for free. So that's the way that works. And those are the two sides of the fence: your own videos and other people's videos, and they really are segregated and separate. And to really drive the point home, Jason Mraz is not only a client of Audiam, he actually invested in the company at some point. So if Jason Mraz writes a song and records it, another person uses the recording. What you're looking at here, by the way, at this point, I made the slide a long time ago. This is 75 million views at this point. This was created by Callie549, just a general person out in the world. And she took the actual sound recording of I'm Yours that was released by Warner. Was it Warner? Yeah. Anyway, and she made a lyric video to it. By the time she pulled the video down, it had over 100 million views. So that's an example of another person uses the recording, which also means the composition is getting used. And over here, here's a brand new recording of it. This is like a little kid playing I Will Always Love You on a sort of ukulele. That's a new recording. Right? These are two different types. This is a way to use the original sound recording or you do a cover. In both of these examples, the composition is being used. In one of these examples, the sound recording is also being used. So you can replace the kid with 3 fingers or the cats or the wedding dance or whatever you like. These two things, your own videos and other people's videos, are completely segregated. There's a wall between the two. Just because you can make money on your own video does not mean you can make money on other people's videos. They're separate contracts. And YouTube can decide at its discretion who has access to the two separate contracts. They tend to do deals with larger entities, not everybody, but they tend to do deals with larger entities for the sound recordings and the compositions. It's not just always open to the everyman. Whereas with your own videos, basically anyone can have access to monetize their own videos. So does all that make sense so far? Yes?
So the kid covering the song, but Dolly Parton, if he was covering about I Can Always Love You, Dolly Parton would get that taken down if she didn't want it.
The question is, can the publisher have this taken down if they want? The answer is yes. How do they fingerprint cover versions? They do not. How can you? Because the sound recording didn't exist till the kid played it, and unless the sound recording was done separately, commercially released, was assigned to an entity that was in a deal with Sony, right? They couldn't. So how do you find the covers? Descriptive text search. So Dolly, unlike Sony, is given the additional task of finding videos using your composition using search. Literally, go and you search, and you've got to find them, and you've got to put what's called ownership on them. Hey, YouTube, this video is using my composition. Could you please just place an ad on it? And by the way, my positioning on this, for whatever it's worth, is, first of all, I think it's good to have videos up here that are using your compositions. I understand that there's going to be some that are offensive that you don't want. I believe you should take them down. But as publishers, I'm going to stick with the composition side, the reason we exist is to generate revenue off of those compositions. We want our compositions used, and we want them to be covered, and we want to be paid for them. That's the point of music publishing. What's weird about YouTube, it's a bizarro world because it works backwards from the way it's supposed to work. In other words, in the old days, when there was a TV show that goes on, the TV show doesn't just stick music in it, broadcast, then get contacted by the publisher and say, could you pay me for that use? It works the other way around. Before the TV show goes on, Mad Men calls you up, gets a license to your composition in the recording, pays you ahead of time, then it goes on the air. Because if they didn't do that, you could sue them. The problem is you can't do that in YouTube. It's the complete other way around. Because of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act safe harbor provision, you've got to think of all of these as little TV shows. And the little TV shows go on the air to be broadcast, but they're doing so without a license. So you literally have hundreds of millions of people creating videos using music in them that don't have licenses, putting them up to YouTube, but now YouTube said, now that they're already up here, now let's slap ads on them. Yes?
If you're an independent artist and you have your own video, your own song, your own copyright, you own it, everything, and you put your video up, how do you get an ad on that?
So the question is, if you're an independent artist, you control the song and the composition, how do you make money off of your own, on your own music video? Yes, you can create a YouTube account. You would upload your music video, which has you warranting and representing. You control the copyrights in that video. Right? You have 3 of them, one for the video, composition, sound recording. You click the button that says monetize, and they'll put an ad on it. Now, what might happen is they might say, ooh, the system might say, we detect music in here. We don't think you have the rights, or let's make sure you have the rights. You might have to jump through a few more hoops. But that's the way it works. So yeah, YouTube's a bizarro world of you find it after it's done, then you put an ad on it, as opposed to before it's done. But think about this. Let's say you wrote a song, and you could get, or recorded a song, and you could get 10 million people to put it in their video. And those videos, like Harlem Shake, remember that? Those videos get watched how many billions of times? And every time somebody else's video is getting watched, you're getting paid? You just sit back and let these people, please use my music in YouTube. And that's kind of where I landed on this, is it's a radical idea, but gosh, promote it, endorse it. By the way, if you're an artist and you're performing a live show, and one of your fans in the audience holds up their phone and records you and uploads it to YouTube, you could monetize that. If I'm a band that's playing stadium tours, heck, record me and upload it. Why not? So part of the problem with YouTube, though, is the person that uploaded the video will get a notice from YouTube that says, hey, we've noticed in your video you've got this music and there's copyrights that someone else is saying they control, and people freak out because they think that they're going to be sued out of existence, or they've done something wrong, or they're going to be fined because it's confusing. YouTube's working on tweaking the language. It's gotten a lot better. So we don't have control over the messaging that YouTube gives. They write the words. You can't change the words that they send. If I could send the words, it would be, hey, thank you very much for using my music or this music in your video. We really appreciate it. All we've asked YouTube to do is place an ad here. We don't want to take the video down. In the event the ad generates any money, we'll just make a small piece of it. And I can't thank you enough for allowing me to make a career off of doing what I love to do. That's the sort of message I would send out. But it's not my company. so I don't. But yeah, it's a bizarre world. Now, what frequently happens is this. Let's go back to you as an artist. You've written a song, you've recorded that song, you've created your own music video, or video with that music in it. You have your own account and you upload that video to YouTube. Hooray, right? In the same time you've done that, you're going through a distribution company. TuneCore, CD Baby, Iota, Ingrooves, The Orchard, Believe, Zimble, whatever. You're going to get a notice from YouTube that says you are infringing on your own copyright. Anyone ever get one of those? You got one. Chase got one. Okay. So Chase here uploads a video to YouTube of his own stuff. It might have been me that did it to you too, for all I know. And he gets a notice from YouTube saying, you don't have rights to your own stuff because somebody else does. So why is that happening? That makes no sense. And the reason that happens is because YouTube is just a dumb computer. It is a machine that is checking to see every video to see if there's music in it. It has no idea if the person that uploaded that video does or does not have a license to the music. How is it supposed to know? It just checks. And the default that they set it to was this default of you don't have. We're going to assume you don't, but if you do, you can still tell us and we'll work it out. And that is why if you're an artist that uploads your own video with your own music, but you use another company, you might get these called claims on your video saying you're infringing on your own copyright, which is insane, and then you get mad at everybody and you scream. But that's why. The reality is it's just a little bit of a pain in the butt that we all have to deal with, and the way you deal with it is by contacting the company that is claiming they control the copyright. It's probably somebody you hired that works for you, and saying, hey, accidentally, YouTube says this. Could you just go in and tell the YouTube computer to leave my video alone? And then the company you work for, let's say it's Audiam that's working for you, we go in, we say, YouTube, leave this video alone, and then it leaves it alone. Then you can go make your own money on it. So that's why that happens. And it's complicated, and it's confusing, and no one understands it. And yeah. So those are the two ways you make money. Your own video, other people's videos. Music videos. How many music publishers or publishing administrators are in the audience? Okay. So question I get all the time. What about the official music video? What about Vivo? Okay. Vivo is just, think of Vivo as a person that went to YouTube and created a YouTube account, just like anybody else. Vivo is now a partner of YouTube, so they're in the Uber status. They're a special one. They get the special contract. And what this contract says is that content ID system I talked about, that fingerprinting system, will skip over all their videos and won't even check any of them. And Vivo is warranting and representing to YouTube that it has acquired all the licenses necessary in order to bundle those three copyrights together, show a music video, and collect any money collectively that those three make. That's what Vivo's doing. And Vivo got its rights grants from the record labels. Vivo is a company that was started by EMI, Sony, and Warner. No, EMI, Sony, and Universal. Warner did its own thing. So Vivo gets licenses for the music videos and then monetizes them on YouTube just like anybody else. So the next question as a music publisher or publishing administrator you should ask is there a rights grant that has been given to the label for the official music video to allow them to monetize it like this? And the answer to that lays between the contract that the recording artist probably signed at the time and the label. For example, in 1979, there's no way there was a rights grant for this. Right? In 2005, there probably was. So that's a area that needs to be slugged out because money's being generated, Vivo collects it, and they pay it back to the labels, and the labels are then supposed to pay band royalties, but they don't pay publishers usually off of videos on YouTube that are generating money through Vivo. Yes. To say this correctly, the label has no rights grant to the underlying composition in order to make money off of it in this manner through the official music video, either on YouTube or Vivo. Nevertheless, it's happening. The label's collecting in all the money, and then I'm impressed you're getting anything. So the answer to your question is no, you can't do that. That is illegal. That is copyright infringement, and you have basis for a lawsuit. And the answer is, the other question is there sort of a Jeff that's out there on behalf of this particular issue? No, there isn't that I'm aware of. However, you might want to think about collectively doing that because I'm sure there's a law firm somewhere that would like to be involved in identifying infringing uses of compositions that have been monetized without a license, without proper payments being made. Right? I mean, that's it. And so, you know, if you go back to the MTV days, if you think about it, labels would always put videos up into MTV, but they didn't pay any synchronization license fees in order to do that. In other words, they didn't go to the publisher and negotiate a separate license from the publisher in order to have a video be synchronized to the lyric and melody. It's complicated, but the reason for that was in the recording agreement, it sometimes said, hey, Kurt Cobain, when you sign this, you're also granting us the right to the underlying composition, or you won't impede the progress, or you have to get it to allow us to make Smells Like Teen Spirit, deliver it to MTV, and commercially exploit it without having to pay money to the publisher. We're only going to do this as a band royalty rate. I know it's complicated and confusing. Yes, again. So the point being made was that the agreement, the heritage artist agreement that she's referring to, did not have a provision in it that allowed for the promotional use of the video, commercial use of the video, meaning make money, only had a promotional use. Promotion means letting people, you know, view it without making money. Don't sell it. So the answer is, I hear that a lot from a lot of publishers and publishing administrators. It is a common theme that everyone says, that I've heard we need to do something about, but I haven't yet seen something be done about it. You know, so yeah, it's an issue. It needs to be explored. At some point it probably will be, and it needs to be driven. You know, as you move into the 90s and you get MTV and so forth, the recording agreements actually did contain commercial exploitation provisions in them with a predetermined royalty rate. But, you know, when you get back into the 70s, the 60s, even the 80s, you know, most of the times they didn't. And so it is a weird area that has grown up that, because of the convolutedness of how the system works and how much money is being generated and how do I spend my time and where should I put my energy to this point in time, really hasn't become an issue. But now it is, because the views are getting significant, the money seems to be real, we need new income streams coming in, we're all fighting for what appears to be a piece of a potentially shrinking pie, and there's copyright infringement occurring, and how can we all participate in it? Yes, it needs to be dealt with. I agree. Yes. So the question is, I've used a distribution entity like a TuneCore or CD Baby I've authorized them on my behalf to go into YouTube and find other people's videos using my music, put an ad on it, generate some ad revenue, collect it. So what is actually happening there? In that particular case, what's happening is the distributor is collecting the money only for the sound recording. Right? You got the three. They're not collecting the money for the underlying composition. You referred to HFA. It sounds to me like you probably opted in for an Harry Fox Agency, which is a great porn name. The Harry Fox Agency, I love that name. Sorry, I can't help it. The Harry Fox Agency, HFA, a number of years ago, created a way for music publishers to opt into an agreement that would allow them to monetize the composition as well. So it sounds to me like you've done, and it's totally fine, is you've outsourced for the sound recording to one entity and the composition to another entity. And so the money that comes in from HFA will be for the composition, and the money that comes in from your distributor will be for the sound recording. And no, you would not need to split those out, unless you have Songwriter splits on the composition, then you'd have to do the splits and payments. Yeah. Sound recording, that's right. Yes, sir. I hope you don't mind if I not only paraphrase you, but translate. So what has occurred here is a publishing company that represents lyrics and melodies did a deal with a video game company where they granted them a license to the composition to use in their video game. Right? So the video game has a recording of that composition. Now, the video game company has asked the publishing company, basically told them, look, we're going to take videos of our video game being played that have your music in it, your composition in it. We're going to upload those videos to YouTube. And we don't want you as the publisher going in and saying to YouTube, put an ad on that video. Because what happens if I'm Activision, but Electronic Arts ad comes up before my, I just don't want ads on there. Besides, we view YouTube as a platform to help drive video game sales. And we don't need the ads. So at the same time that that's going on, this particular publisher has entered into a deal with a third-party company to go into YouTube and find videos using his composition without a license. So the question is, what's going to happen? Right? The video game company uploads the video into YouTube, and we now know, because of the sound recording, if there's a fingerprint on that sound recording, the content ID system of YouTube, is this geeking you out enough yet? The content ID system of YouTube will automatically find that video game video, right, through the sound recording, and there's a composition attached to it, and so by default, it'll probably put an ad on it. And the person that uploaded the video, in this case the video game company, will get a notice from YouTube saying, hey, your video contains copyrighted protected material that is being controlled by so-and-so. The question is, how do we deal with this? So the first question is, in your license to the video game company, did you grant them YouTube rights? If the answer is yes, I did. Then the way it gets dealt with is like this. Hey, video game company, listen, it's me. You're going to get notices from YouTube on your videos. When you do, just send me the URL links to them. I will call my third-party company and tell them to log into the system and tell YouTube to leave you alone. That's the only way to deal with it. Well, I can't speak to that. All I can tell you is we can do that. And we would, because the whole point of this is to find the videos on YouTube that do not have licenses. Not the ones that do, and the ones that don't, you don't want to screw them up. So anyway, that's the way you would deal with it. I know this stuff is so complicated, and it's part of the reason why I created Audiam is, we're in the music industry. We're sex, drugs, rock and roll, and we're licensing. This is a technology infrastructure that's crazy with fingerprinting and databases and XML2 metadata feeds, and it's just, they don't even speak the same language. And by the way, some of the things I talked about earlier in YouTube in streaming occur in here as well. So YouTube turned to us and said, I've created the playground, you guys get to play in it. Can you put your data in? And unlike an interactive stream, which is a mechanical royalty, here there is no compulsory license. So they turned to us to put the information in, and the information is different from person to person. I mean, I've seen, like, Billie Jean be connected to Pump Up the Jam. I've seen White Christmas get connected to the composition for White Room. I've seen ownership on compositions in here at 200%, literally, where it will show multiple entities. This is Mel Brooks, the producers. It will have 5 different entities saying they all control the same thing to a point where the thing is at 400% ownership. I've seen the wrong sound recording get attached to the wrong composition, compositions attached to the wrong sound recording. I've seen wrong songwriter. I mean, anything you can think of. When those errors exist in this database, it doesn't matter how many videos you find, because it doesn't know who to pay, or it doesn't pay it out, or it waits for someone to fix the problem. To me, by the way, I'm getting tangential, but it's a good segue. The trick to YouTube is less about finding the videos. Yeah, we can all do that. We use YouTube's technology, we use our own technology, we use descriptive text search automation, but it doesn't matter if the data's bad. No one's paying attention to the data. All these companies out there talk about, we'll find videos. Yeah, who cares? You can get 10 billion views, but if it's at 200%, nobody gets paid. Or if it says somebody else controls the composition, nobody gets paid. I cleaned up the Dolly Parton catalog in 2.5 weeks. We cleaned that thing, scrubbed it. I Will Always Love You. Boy, that was a tough one to get clean. Got it all worked out. Every single week it gets screwed up. Somebody puts in information, a third party, the Spanish organization, ESCA or PRS, or just somebody, somewhere will put in bad information. And YouTube has to be neutral. It doesn't know who's right. Are you right? Are you right? Am I right? Who are we going to listen to? We're not. You all get to be right. And it creates problems. And every week, basically every day, we have to fix the problem again and again and again and again. A little tangential. But yeah, so to answer your question, yeah, you got to just tell the YouTube computer to leave it alone, and I can do that for you. So did all that make sense? Yeah, I know, right? This is why it's a piece of technology. So I want to get into this very quickly, too. You've probably all heard about YouTube Music Key. What is Music Key? It's mysterious. I don't understand it. Okay. So YouTube launched a new product called Music Key. Here's what you need to know about it. It is a subscription service. That means people pay YouTube money to subscribe to it. When you do this, when you pay the money to YouTube to subscribe to it, you get these benefits. Number one, you can watch YouTube videos when you're not connected. It downloads it, puts it in your cache, on your phone, on your computer, on your tablet. Right? You can watch it offline. It's one of the benefits. Here's another benefit. You can watch the videos when they're in the background. So right now, if you have an Android or an iPhone and you open your YouTube app and you watch a video, you're watching the video and you press the button to go to your home screen, you'll notice the video stops, right? It doesn't play anymore. Or you haven't noticed, now you know. Under this, video's playing, you go to the home screen, the video keeps playing. Basically, YouTube is now Spotify. YouTube is Spotify if you close your eyes, right? And so the video in the background now plays versus before when it did not. The other thing you get is no ads. The music key applies to not every video on YouTube, but to music videos and videos with music in them. I don't know how else to describe it. So it's arbitrary. The two cats fighting with music in the background and with Smells Like Teen Spirit playing and the official Smells Like Teen Spirit video, both will play with no ads on them. The final thing you should know is that if you subscribe to YouTube Music Key, you also can then access Google Play at no additional cost. Google Play is Google's version of Spotify. By the way, if you're a Google Play subscriber, you then are a YouTube Music Key subscriber as well. That's what Music Key is. Music Key is you pay a fee, and you can watch videos offline, you can play them in the background, there won't be ads, you can go to Google Play, and you pay them X dollars per month. That's all it is. Now, there is one kind of funky thing that came up with this. I can't even remember if I put a slide in on this or not. Let me check. No. Okay. There is something called an art track. Right? So for those of you in the audience that are music publishers or labels, you probably see these things coming up and like, what the heck is an art track? Art tracks are interesting. Up to this point in time, YouTube has never uploaded a video to YouTube. Well, with rare exception, right? They have a couple of, like 3 or 4 videos that they put up on how YouTube works. But YouTube doesn't make videos and upload them to YouTube. Art tracks are YouTube making videos and uploading them to YouTube. And they created an automated way to do this. And the way it works is like this. Hey, when you send us a sound recording, what we will do is automatically create a video for you, provided you're in the contract with us. One of the, the big contract, not the one over here, the one over here. And what we'll do is we'll automatically create a video for you which has the cover art from the release, and we will stream the song in its entirety underneath it. And we're going to call that an art track. That's what an art track is. And by the way, think about an art track in regards to this. Yes? The distributor is in an agreement. So the question is that set up by the distributor? The answer is the distributor is in a contract with YouTube where they have agreed to this component of it as well, which authorizes YouTube to create these videos on behalf of the distributor and put them into the YouTube system. Now those art tracks are available to be viewed both in regular YouTube and in subscription YouTube. It's just another video, just another piece of user-generated content. What's interesting about art tracks, though, is this. Because YouTube is creating these videos themselves for the first time, it's a little bit different than the kid down the street creating the video and uploading the cats, right? And they know they're creating it. So now they have to get those licenses to both the sound recording and the composition. Because if they don't, and every art track is included, right, in both YouTube and subscription service, they're making money off of it. And if they're making money off of it and they don't have a license, they can be sued. So how do they deal with this? Because this is YouTube. YouTube is different than Spotify. Okay, I want to be clear about this. Spotify, and this is where it gets weird, the gray line is, Spotify is an interactive streaming audio service. It streams just songs. It doesn't have an audio-visual component. Yeah, you might see the album art, but it's not a video, per se. Because of that, Spotify can use something called a compulsory license for the composition, and then they have to pay something called a mechanical royalty. So Spotify gets the benefit of the government forcing all of you to have to give it a license whether you want to or not. YouTube, arguably, is not an audio-only streaming service, although it's certainly getting close. YouTube is videos. Now, a video can have a static image. Still a video, possibly. Because of that, YouTube cannot use the compulsory license for a composition and pay a mechanical royalty. It has to negotiate a synchronization license to the composition, which is different than a reproduction mechanical royalty license. Different. One is a compulsory license. The government says you have it. One, the government says you do not have it. You have to go out and negotiate one at a time. So now if I have a video site, have to go to you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and I have to negotiate with all of you a synchronization royalty rate in a contract. Right? So what happens if I don't have that synchronization right from you and I'm putting it out on the video? I'm now infringing on the copyright because I don't have that right. But here are these art tracks. What happens if I don't negotiate with you directly for this art track, which is arguably just another video on YouTube? Can't you sue YouTube for that? Well, any of you know what Schrodinger's cat is? And for those of you that don't, it has to do with quantum theory and physics. It's basically, there's a cat in a box. Is it dead or alive? And the answer is you don't know until you open the box. And so it's simultaneously two things until it's one of them. It's both dead and alive until it's one or the other. That's what YouTube is doing with art tracks. An art track is simultaneously a right of synchronization for a video and a mechanical royalty for the compulsory for an audio stream, simultaneously. That's the position that they've taken, understandably, because they're like, look, it's just a static image with an audio file, like Spotify. So that way, if I'm direct licensed with you, I'll pay the synchronization license fee because I'm in a direct license. But if you refuse it, I'll just send you a notice of intent, and they'll get the compulsory license, and now I have the license again. Nobody's argued this in any court yet. This is all brand new, but that's a position that they've taken, and an art track is simultaneously two things until it's one of them, like Schrodinger's cat. Now that I've confused the heck out of all of you, here's another confusing aspect of all of this. What about the money that gets collected by BMI, ASCAP, and CSAC? This is called public performance revenue. You know, is this in conflict? Is this different? No, this is incremental. With the stream of a video and music in that video, YouTube needs to get two slices of the copyright. They need to get the right of public performance, and they need to get the right of synchronization. Right? Where do they get the right of public performance from? The Performing Rights Organization. Where do they get the right of synchronization from? The publishing administrator. Two separate licenses. The money they pay over here, that entity, ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, are responsible for paying you. The money over here, YouTube is responsible for paying you directly. So it's incremental. It's not one substituting the other. Just FYI. So yeah, that's the deal with art tracks. Art tracks are YouTube-created videos. They're available on all of YouTube. You get the YouTube Music key, you get a subscription service. This is how it works. Now there is one other fun nuance, which is when you do a search in YouTube now for music, you get search results down the middle, but you also get search results on the right. The search results on the right tie into Music key. And unlike the search results down the middle, which are based on the proprietary YouTube algorithm of deciding what to surface where, the ones on the right are a little more editorially programmed based around business logic. The very first search result will always be the official music video. The second search result will be the art track. And the third search result will be user-generated content, the cat video. So that's how the stuff on the right will surface. Here's another interesting point. And you brought it up when you talked about using a distributor for YouTube over here. Let's go back to what YouTube is. YouTube is a destination website for people to go and watch videos and upload videos. How many of you have ever licensed a song, sound recording, for a TV show or a film or a commercial? Right? Did you do that, or did your distributor do that? You did that. Do distributors traditionally do synchronization licenses? No, right? Your distributor does it. What do you think YouTube is? YouTube is synchronization licensing. So you need to be aware of this. If you own a label, okay, think about this. Your distributor is issuing a synchronization license to YouTube. That's not what distributors do. They are then taking a distribution fee on synchronization income. Again, forgive me if I'm going over the heads of some of the people here, but this is such an important technical point. Usually in a recording contract, there's two different royalties. One is called a band royalty rate, and one is called a sync rate. The band royalty rate is like 12, 13% of the money that comes in, whereas the synchronization money is usually 50-50. So you sell a CD, it generates 10 bucks, the band gets credited $1.40. On the other hand, you get a song of that recording placed into Mad Men, and it generates $10,000, you get 50% of the $10,000. YouTube is synchronization income. Okay, think about this. If you end up with a pissed off artist down the line and you're a record label and you're not aware of this now, they can come back and sue you claiming you haven't paid them appropriately on their sync income because you're paying them a band royalty rate on YouTube, which has a distribution fee taken off of it, as opposed to the 50-50 that it's supposed to be. Just something to be aware of. And by the way, this is why I'm against distributors getting involved with YouTube, because they're distributors. Distributors put music onto the shelves of music stores. YouTube is not a music store. You shouldn't have third-party entities that don't exactly know what they're doing going into systems, and it just creates issues and problems and potentially liability down the road for people. Just food for thought. Yes?
So what is all of the drama with the independents?
The question is, what is all the drama with the independents? I can't speak for all of them. The drama, the issues are over the contractual terms that were provided to them by YouTube and their dislike of them. And there was this European movement around that. And more recently, there's been an artist named Zoe Keating that's picked up a lot of traction online, and you can read some of her conversations. And they don't like the deal terms. They feel they're either not being paid properly, being underpaid, they don't have parity with other entities, or they're being forced to do things that they don't want to do, which loses them control of their recordings. The question is, does YouTube have the right to say, if you don't agree to these deal terms, we'll pull everything down? YouTube already has that right. YouTube can do whatever it wants. It's a third-party company. If it doesn't want music up there or doesn't want a video up there, it could just take it down. It's, again, I can see both sides of the fence. If I create a website and I let all of you use it for free and I don't like one of you, why shouldn't I be able to stop you? On the flip side, if I'm in a position, and I'm not suggesting YouTube is or isn't, but if a dynamic is created which creates inequality, a lack of proper equity splits, coercion in order to exploit inappropriately, then then I would take issue with that. So yeah, YouTube can do whatever YouTube wants, right? If they don't want you to make money, then if they want to take down your music, they'll just take it down. But it's not in their interest. They don't want to do that. They want everything up there because they make more money. And there's nothing wrong with that. By the way, the YouTube money to me is new money. It's this incredible mashup culture landscape. And I'm not endorsing you should or shouldn't do it. I'm just providing a perspective for me, which is whether I like it or not, it's here. I used to have issue with YouTube. YouTube sold for $1 billion, and it did it off of the back of copyright holders. And a lot of those copyright holders are sitting in this room. Right? It took other people's copyrights, it created videos that got hundreds of millions, billions of views. It increased the number of viewers coming in. The eyeballs is what had value and drove their valuation, and they got acquired for $1 billion off of other people's copyrights, and none of the creators or copyright holders got paid from that. It's a tough pill to swallow. On the flip side, it also provided a platform that was completely free, that helped market and promote music, so you can go both ways. But ultimately, even if I felt that way then, I give up. It's a monster. It is the #1 destination site on the planet for music discovery and search. It blows away everything else. And frankly, through Audiam, there's been over a couple $1 million generated just in the last year for our clients off of this. I mean, millions of dollars. And the idea that we could go out to the world and empower the music consumer to be involved in the economic food chain in a way they never have been before. It used to be we would get music, what would we do with it? We'd listen to it, or I'd make a mixtape in hopes that I could get this girl to like me or something, or whatever. But that's what we do. We'd listen to it. We didn't use it. Now what do consumers do when they get the music? They use it. They don't just listen to it. They file share it. They trade it. They do mashups. They stick it in videos. #1 destination site in the world, I think, for music use is here. And this is what upset the music industry. Consumers aren't supposed to use music. You're supposed to listen to it. If you're going to use it like this, you need licenses. It's a brave new world, whether we like it or not. Technology caused it to happen. We tried to put the genie back in the bottle. It didn't work. So forget it. Let's empower it. Let's monetize all of it. Let's encourage it. But let's make sure it's equitable. I agree with you, by the way. I don't like inequality. I don't like coercion. I like fair. I like people being paid. I agree with choice. And I believe any service should allow that choice, the nuances, the selections. It should be done. But that's a very long-winded answer to your question. So that's what Music Key is. That's the way YouTube works. Here's some other fun nuances you should know. On a sound recording, if there is a view of a video that has been monetized that has your sound recording in it, anywhere in the world, you most likely will be paid directly for that. So if you recorded a song, I'm trying to think, oh yeah, wait, Jamestown. You guys, were you in the video of the time-lapse pregnancy, or was that somebody else? That was somebody else. Okay, I'm sorry. So there's a time-lapse pregnancy video. It was a couple in Portugal put this up. It ended up on the front page of Yahoo News, and it got a couple million views in a couple of days. And it was, I can't remember the name of the artist. It was out of the UK that wrote a song that was in that video. And they used Audiam. So here this UK band uses a US company for a video that got uploaded to YouTube and ended up getting millions of views from a Portugal couple. The money that came in from that, from any view that happened anywhere in the world, flowed back to them. On the composition side, it's different. The composition side, you'll get paid directly for the views that happen that are monetized in the United States, okay, for the most part. And the reason for that is outside of the United States, when you get into Europe or, I know the UK is part of the EU, but I say it anyway, there are collection agencies there and performing rights organizations that represent bundles of copyrights in the way they don't here. So YouTube can go to Jazzrack in Japan or SACEM in France and enter into a license, and that license embodies the rights of public performance and the right of synchronization. And they make the payment to that entity, and then that entity pays you, theoretically. So that is why you get paid directly from your US views, but you're not getting directly paid from outside of the US views. Whereas the master, you'll get paid directly. If you're further interested, I feel so bad because I know this stuff is so technical. The way it works overseas is the usage logs from YouTube, which is a list of every video on YouTube and how many times it's been played, gets handed to the collection agency. The collection agency literally has to go through the hundreds of billions of lines and match each video with the music back to their songwriter and publisher, and they've been prepaid the money for the year. They get treated like broadcast television. YouTube will literally prepays for the year up front. The money gets paid to the collection agency. They hold on to it. They get these usage logs in. They have to map it all back together each month, figure out who gets what, and then take their percentage of the money and figure out how to allocate that out. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't always work so well. So, anything else? So that's, there's your quick and easy on YouTube. Going back to the top of the trees, your own videos, other people's videos. Yes?
That last statement you made about being paid directly for views in the U.S., how does that work with sub-pub agreements? Are they being paid directly for our views and then they're paying us, or is it still going through the PRO of that country?
So the question is, how do the payments work if a sub-publisher is involved? And for those of you not familiar with that terminology, what that means is, let's say you've written a song, you own the copyright, and you have decision-making power. You are the songwriter, the publisher, and the publishing administrator. But you don't have any way to collect your money, or you don't have anyone representing your rights in England. So you do a deal with Bad Teeth Incorporated in England to do your work for you. That would be called your sub-publisher. Your sub-publisher then represents those rights, and your sub-publisher, when they get your rights, becomes a member of the local collection agency. So to answer your question, the way the money flows is YouTube pays the local collection agency. The local collection agency takes a percentage. They get those usage logs. They figure out who gets paid what, theoretically. They then pay your sub-publisher. They then take their administration fee, and then they pay the money out to you. So you're getting a double dip with probably about 9 months to a year and a half latency before the money comes through. No way to audit this and verify it, and yeah. Yeah. No, that's ex-US. Yep. If you have a sub-publisher, so let's say you're in Europe and you've done a deal with someone in the US, your US sub-publisher would get paid directly by YouTube and account back to you. Okay, so the question is, if there's a trailer on YouTube and it's got music in it, who gets paid? Most likely the person that wrote the music for that trailer was in a work-for-hire contract, which means they do not control the copyright. The film or production company does. Therefore, they have no income coming in off of that. However, they are still the songwriter, so arguably the performing rights organization should identify that they've got a public performance that has occurred on YouTube and then pay out the songwriter share to your friend. All right, so This has gotten so dense, but there's no other way around this. This is YouTube. This is the way it works. It's convoluted, it's complicated, it's a headache. And this is part of the challenge I have is you go out into the world and people are like, oh, I can just go YouTube. You could, it's a lot of work, man. And this is a technology system. And you've got to find videos and you've got to clean up the database. And by the way, what happens if you've written a song like Yesterday, Paul McCartney, although Lennon McCartney, and you've got 30,000 versions of it that have been commercially released? You've got to get into that YouTube database, every single ISRC, unique identifier. You need to link that composition to 30,000 sound recordings. And how do you do that? You know, you got to put the right data into the database to allow this to happen. And if you don't, that means you're going to miss out on money. So this is another reason why I started this company. It's just to deal with this mess. And you know, if you'll be so kind, this is sort of the stuff I do. I get hired. So Amacham, the largest independent music publisher in the world, they've opted to use us. And you know, Elvis Presley estate, Rodgers and Hammerstein, Daft Punk songs. Gosh, there's a whole bunch of other stuff in there. I can't remember it all. So what happens is you send me your metadata. Hey, here's the name of my song, what percentage I control, who wrote it, who the publisher is, who the publishing administrator is. Send me what you got. I'll take it however you have it. I'm in the service industry. I work for you. I'm not going to make you bend to me. I'll bend to you. Export it, CWR, CSV, Excel. Okay, once we get your information, the second thing we do, I'll go out into the world before I do anything else, and I will find the sound recordings of your compositions. I will find recordings you don't even know exist. I will find recordings that have been downloaded millions of times that you don't know exist because they don't even have a license. And I will find that information, and I will find the identifiers of those songs, and I will pull that all out. And, you know, I talked about this earlier for Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. All right, we found over 4,600 sound recordings of that composition. I'm now able to pull out 4,600 unique identifiers, pull them out, add them back into your data. I then take your data, after we've added all the sound recordings in, and I'll pump it back into YouTube. Now, the cool thing about YouTube, unlike everybody else, is they actually created a user interface where I have access to see what the heck's going on. I can't do that with Spotify or Rhapsody or Beats, but YouTube, once you can log into a system and you can see in this composition or this sound recording, this is who owns it, this is when, this is the song, you can see everything. So we load it in and we see what's clean, what's dirty. Clean means we look into the database and it says, yes, it's got the right ownership on it, the right percentages, great, you know the money is going to flow. Dirty means one of a variety of things. Thing number one, over 100% ownership. Okay, Mel Brooks, the producers. If a composition has over 100% ownership, this is what happens. YouTube says, well, we definitely have permission. We just don't know who to pay. So we're going to hold that money in escrow until one of these publishers comes in or somebody comes in and fixes this mess. Until then, we'll keep monetizing, we'll hold on to that money. Then these publishers have to log in, find what's not right. Imagine if you've got a catalog of 3,000 compositions or 1 million compositions. How do you go find all this? You got to troll through one at a time, or you're a self-published independent songwriter. So you got to go fix that. Here's another example. You wrote a song. You own 30%, you own 70%. But the songwriter split between the two is 50-50. The money's going to get paid out 50-50. That's wrong. So you get a wrong songwriter split. You get the wrong sound recording attached to the wrong composition is another one. You literally have the wrong entity showed as an owner on a composition. For example, when I logged in and began working for Mraz, it showed that Universal Music Publishing controlled the rights to some of his compositions. He never did a deal with them. And by the way, Universal Music Publishing didn't tell YouTube that. Somebody else told YouTube that. So then you've got to go fix the wrong ownership. Yeah. So then you get into sort of this nefarious other world of clones. It's the invasion of the body snatchers. Because you will find there is not just one version of a composition. Literally, I log into a system on a more popular song, I will find over 600 versions of the same composition. And the reason for that is this. You record a cover of a song, you put it into one of these distributors, the distributor doesn't fill out the right information for the publisher, or it leaves it blank, but delivers it to YouTube anyway. YouTube needs to have a composition in there, so they create a placeholder, and it creates a duplicate. And that duplicate gets attached to the sound recording, but it doesn't have any ownership on it. What that means is any views of that video that happen where these things are linked will generate you no money. I went to work for David Bowie, Modern Love. The main sound recording had one of these duplicate clone compositions attached to it, which had no ownership. He never made a penny off of the hundreds of thousands of, or actually it was millions of views. Right? So literally you got to go through and you got to clean up these duplicates. While you're doing that, now you got to go find videos. So you got to go find the videos the content ID system missed using descriptive text. You have to go and do manual claims. And by the way, while you're doing all this, there's always new videos showing up. But then next week or tomorrow, someone else inputs bad data again, and it screws up some portion of your compositions, and they stop monetizing. But you don't know it. Right? So we built a red flag system. Literally every day, the first thing I get when I walk into the office is a report that says, what is not making money today on YouTube that was making money yesterday? So I have a red flag report. Every day we come in, I think today there were 6. Yesterday was 3, sometimes there's 14, sometimes you'll see a massive amount, there's a huge system update that's happened, and you gotta go through them and you gotta fix them. And the way you fix them is you literally have to pick up the phone and call somebody or email somebody. Hi, so-and-so, could you please remove your ownership on this composition? The reason you have to do that is the YouTube system doesn't let me overwrite it. So literally I have to contact, and usually within 24 to 36 hours it happens. And all the music publishers sort of play together well now. We've all learned the system. And some of you are actually in this room where we reach out and we contact, and stuff gets erroneously done all the time. And that's just getting this thing going on. And then there's the art tracks. You'll find that there are multiple versions of the same songs being delivered to YouTube for the art track. Which distributor has the rights? The one in Europe, the one in the US, anyway. So it is a constant influx of information. We scrub, we look for sound recordings, we add the data in. We are, through an automated system, are updating the YouTube system on an hourly basis. By the way, as we fix the YouTube system, we're also fixing the Google Play system because the two systems talk to each other. Yes, sir?
That's my question. Those two talk to each other. One of them is interactive, supposed to pay in 20 days. The other is video, and you're saying 8 or 9 months to return on that. How do they...
Well, actually, the payment cycles for each is monthly. Both Google Play and YouTube are going to pay monthly. The way they play together is the bad data that exists in YouTube literally exists everywhere else as well. It exists in Spotify, it exists in Rhapsody, it exists in Beats, it exists in Google Play. But if you can fix it in YouTube, because YouTube and Google Play are under the same parent company, they share information. So if you fix something here, it will fix over here as well. Yep, it doesn't, so there are different royalties that are being paid out, but the information necessary to pay them needs to be the same. Who am I paying and who controls what? Then it's a matter of how much. Now, how much is easier, but who is the hard? And the what is the hard. So yeah, we get the information, we find it, we enhance the data. I'm sorry guys, I know I'm the most boring person in show business, but this is where the money is. And you can log in and you can download your own data at any point, reuse it, send it abroad for your sub-publisher, send it to collection agencies abroad. It should unlock money for you overseas. So that's what we do on a constant, ongoing basis, and then we can repurpose that information for you if you like, and go and get the money that you're owed from the interactive streaming services in the United States, like a Spotify or a Rhapsody or a Beats, because it's the same darn information. Right? You just need to clean up these databases and then monitor and police it. So that's what this company does. It is the most unsexy company in the music business, but I deal with all the horrible technical metadata stuff, so you guys can deal with art and culture and A&R, and I'll take these 17 different disparate statements that look like they're written in some form of Cyrillic from 22 BC, and we normalize them into one simple statement so you can actually make sense of this thing. We audit it. We can do delta reports that compare one thing against the next, and that's what Audiam's about. It's about getting you paid for the digital use of your music because it has value and you should be paid for it. Any additional questions? Or have I just bored you all to tears? No, great. Well, it looks like there's pizza left. You're certainly more than welcome to come up and speak to me if you like, for whatever it's worth as well. There is 2 things you should be aware of. One is not that. One is this. Come on, internet, work. Okay. Hey, look, we're on TV. Up at the top. Anyone can just come here and sign up. No upfront fees. Do whatever you like, and we get working for you. Basically, want to prove the value of the service. This needs to be done. collectively, for the interactive streaming services, we need to make a change. For YouTube, there's a lot of money in YouTube. There's a lot of money in YouTube. I mean, we've collected over, just on I Will Always Love You, it was about 30 grand in retroactive money, and I think it's doing like $6,000 to $8,000 a month on an ongoing basis, and there's a lot of money there. Thank you all very, very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Please have some more pizza. Have a great rest of your day.